Hello friends, welcome to Communication Skills for Everyone. In this channel, you're going to learn English language skills, personality development, vocabulary, and all-round development. In this video, let us learn Shyness My Shield by Mahatma Gandhi. So, in the beginning, this essay was extracted from Mahatma Gandhi's autobiography, The Story of My Experiments with Truth. This essay talks about the initial fear of Gandhiji to deliver a public speech when he was a student in England. It gives different anecdotes of Gandhiji's repeated attempts and failures to deliver a public speech while he was in England. Finally, the essay also talks about the Gandhiji's shyness, how its shyness became his shield. So when we look at that Gandhiji's initial trouble with public speaking, so when Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was studying law in England, he became a member of the Vegetarian Society. So he was elected to the executive committee of the Vegetarian Society. He used to attend every one of its meetings but never opened his mouth. He sat quite silent while other members were expressing their opinions at these meetings. Though he was interested to speak, but he could not open his mouth. He used to think that others knew better than him. So, whenever he dared to speak, a new subject would be started. This went on like this for a long time. This went on for this for a long time. So, Gandhiji first attempt in public speaking. In the meantime, the Vegetarian Society faced a serious trouble because of the differences between two people like Mr. Hills and Dr. Ellison. So Mr. Hills was the president of Vegetarian Society. He was a Puritan, right? A particular section in Christianity. He was the proprietor of the Thames Iron Works. He gave much financial assistance to the society. So many members of the society were his followers or supporters. Dr. Allison was another important member. He was advocating the new birth control movement. He was preaching the birth control methods among the working classes. Mr. Hills regarded the activity of Dr. Allison as against the morals preached by Christianity. So he wanted to send Dr. Ellison out of the group. So Mahatma Gandhi also did not like the artificial birth control movement at that time, but he did not want to support Mr. Hill's decision because the Vegetarian Society can have any one of us members if he is preaching vegetarianism. So Gandhiji did not like the idea of Mr. Hills. So Mr. Hills brought a motion or proposal to remove Dr. Ellison, and Gandhi wanted to oppose the proposal of Mr. Hills, but he did not have the courage to speak. So he wrote down his ideas on a piece of paper, but he could not even read it. So someone else read his thoughts or speech. In the voting, Dr. Ellison lost, so he was removed from the society. Thus, the very first battle of the kind, Gandhiji found himself siding with the losing party. Gandhiji was satisfied with his thoughts was right. Later, Gandhiji resigned from the committee. So Gandhiji shyness to give public speech remained thought throughout his stay in England, even during his social meetings also. He could not speak to the gatherings. So Gandhi's second attempt to deliver a public speech. In one more incident, Gandhiji went to Watnur with Mujamdar. There, Gandhiji was invited to speak at a meeting for the promotion of vegetarianism. Once again, Gandhiji prepared his speech in writing to speak extempore. Right? Speak extempore. Extempore is here without any preparation. was out of the question for Gandhiji. He stood up to read the written speech but could not. His vision became blurred and he trembled. So Muzumdar had to read it out for him. Gandhiji was ashamed of himself and sad at heart for his incapacity. So Gandhiji final attempt to deliver a public speech in England. Gandhiji's last effort to make a public speech in England was on the eve of his departure for home, right, India. Then Gandhiji invited his vegetarian friends to dinner in the Holborn restaurant. During the dinner, also, the people gave speeches. When Gandhiji's turn for speaking came, he stood up to make a speech. He wanted to start his speech with a humorous anecdote, like saying a story or joke, but he could not proceed behind the first sentence. He struck there. His memory entirely failed, and in attempting a humorous speech, he made himself ridiculous. He abruptly sat down by thanking the guest. It was only in South Africa that Gandhiji got over his shyness through whenever completely overcame it. It was impossible for Gandhiji to speak impromptu. This is also a kind of a speech without preparation. Gandhiji hesitated whenever he had to face new or strange audience and avoid making a speech whenever he could. Gandhiji admitted that he was not good at engaging friends in a meeting. So Gandhiji's shyness became his advantage. Gandhiji said that though occasionally his shyness put him in awkward situations, his constitutional shyness did not become a disadvantage. In fact, on the contrary, it was all to the advantage of Gandhiji. His existence in speech became a pleasure in his later life. Its greatest benefit has been that it had taught Gandhiji the economy of words. So Gandhiji had naturally formed the habit of restraining his thoughts, controlling his thoughts. A thoughtless word hardly ever escaped his tongue or pen. So that's what he used words very carefully. He found no occasion where he had to regret anything in his speech or writing because he used words very carefully. Thus, Gandhiji had been spared from many troubles and waste of time. So he used very cleverly. So experience had taught Gandhiji that silence was part of spiritual discipline of a supporter of truth. So generally people have the weakness of exaggerating or suppressing or modifying the truth unwillingly or willingly. But silence is necessary in order to surmount all this. A man of few words will rarely be thoughtless in his speech. He will measure every word. So most of the people are interested in speaking a lot and they generally exceed the time limit. But such talking is useless to the society. Gandhiji finally said that unnecessary talk is so much waste of time. He said that his shyness had been in reality his shield and buckler. It had allowed him to grow. It had helped him in the judgment of truth. Thus, Gandhiji finally felt that his shyness was shield and it molded his personality. So this is about the Gandhiji's shyness became how it became his advantage or shyness my shield. Summary. Thank you for watching. Subscribe. Communication skills for everyone for more academic and educational videos.